Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of Sippin the Dry. I'm Sean, here with the GM and head guide Parker. Today, we're going to talk to you about smallmouth fishing tactics and gear that you're going to need for this year. Parker?
Good morning.
How are you, sir?
Good.
You look good.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Good.
Springtime is upon us here in Southwest Ohio.
It is. It's almost
great.
May.
Yeah, I mean, if we can avoid the snow for a couple days, and we'll have a good day.
Yeah, we were in the 70s last week. We're in the 50s this week, and hopefully 70s by the weekend. I love Ohio.
I love it. I love it. All right. What are we looking for? What am I looking for right now?
Well, I think the smallmouth in Ohio is underrated. Springtime can be really great, especially if you're targeting some larger fish. We have a pretty good gym around us. We got 5 different rivers around the fly shop, so we have a lot of miles of smallmouth fishing, and typically I usually do my best in the spring and early fall.
Fair.
Yeah.
All right. What kind of water conditions? I don't really know smallmouth fishing at all. I mean, this is new for me, so.
Yeah, so what happens is, the smallmouth around here, you get into the wintertime, they get a little sluggish, and then they start to feed up for the spawn. So right now, we're about on the bed time frame right now. So
Okay.
Mid-April to early May, the smallmouth will start to get near their beds, and they'll start feeding bait fish and crawfish. And this is kind of a good way for fly fishermen to get some of the larger lunkers, just because they're in shallower water.
Oh, okay.
And so, through this season, through this spawn season, this early spring season, is when you target these fish, you're more than likely to catch something that's better than a 12-inch smallmouth, which is on average usually a good fish.
Okay. Okay.
But with the springtime, it's all about, a couple different things. You got water flows that are up and down. You got water and air temperatures that are up and down. So it's kind of navigating that stuff around here. And as, as the shop guy and as your shop guy, the public can always, call us and chat with us about, the weather conditions around town. But right now, I mean, it's perfect. Water levels are kind of getting clear. Bass are getting shallow, so we can target them.
We've had a couple people calling in the shop saying they've had some pretty good sized ones already on some craws.
Yep.
And so that's pretty good. What setups are you using? Like, what's the best rod for you to hit some of them?
That's a good question. So there's a couple different rods I use. Certainly, I use a Sage X, and really, I'll backtrack. 6-7 weights are great for smallmouth.
6-7, okay.
Yep. A lot of guys around town, they're going to have their trout set up. But smallmouth is a little bit differently. You're going to be casting a little bit heavier fly. You may be casting full sinking, intermediate lines, basically a sinking line per se, which is a little bit more weight while casting. And so when you're trying to pick out a nice smallmouth rod, I think, that 6-7 weight, that 9 foot, some guys like a 9.6, but you need something a little bit more stout to turn over some heavier flies.
Okay. So streamers and stuff like that?
Exactly.
Is there any certain type of colors that are better for spring?
In terms of fly-wise?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of depends on your water conditions. Certainly you want them a little brighter when it's off color, and then when it's clearer, you want to kind of be more natural. So like white olive, brown black when it's kind of clear and calm, and then when it's up, you're using chartreuse and yellow and black and purple to kind of get the fish's attention. Typically, right now they're kind of aggressive, so you just need to get it within the zone, within probably a 2 or 3 foot zone.
Okay, so they're gonna actively search out your bait
until they physically really get it and hold steady on that bed. Yeah, they're smashing some baits.
They're gonna smash it. So it's gonna be like a fast retrieve. You're gonna pop it twice.
That's a good question. Their metabolism is based, cold-blooded, so that it's based on water temperature. So it's not like their metabolism is cranking. So it's not that hot in the water right now. But basically, they're gonna swim at a fly, but they're not maybe going to be as aggressive as they may be in the summertime. Yeah, so, slow to medium retrieves. Certainly, you're keeping it more near the subsurface, the ground.
Okay.
They're not really going to attack bait fish all too much on the top, but there's certain times where you get that 70-degree day and the bait fish get hopping. the smallmouth get hopping, and that's where you can use some topwater stuff.
Okay, all right. Topwater smallmouth sounds like a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
Here in southwestern Ohio, where do you suggest that anybody, myself or any of the locals, people watching at home, where can I go that I'm going to have a good time? I know you can't promise me a fish, but where can I go to have a great time and get some good practice in?
So we guide the Great Miami, we grab the Stillwater, the Mad River, the Little Miami, and the Twin. So basically, if you're within, in the Miami Valley region's probably like a 30-mile radius, you're probably within 5 to 10 minutes of a river, which is really cool.
Sure.
So when we do guiding, typically we ask the customer, what's your closest river? Let's go fish on that river. And what we found is some rivers are smaller. Usually they remain colder. So in this time of year, we're kind of fishing a little bit larger river. Great Miami, Stillwater,
Okay.
Lower Mad. The Twin Creek and the Little Miami typically get better as it warms up throughout the spring. So, like right now, my good buddy is fishing the Great Miami heavily, 3 or 4 times a week, and crushing it. The water's warming up a lot faster.
Okay.
There's a lot more areas for the fish to bed. So,
True. Yeah, that's awesome. Being the head guide here in the shop, do you have any trips planned coming up? Anybody?
Yeah, I'm actively doing trips. I do wading trips right now.
Okay.
It's usually the best for one-on-one or maybe two-on-one instruction because a lot of our local crowd tends to be very new to fishing smallmouth.
Absolutely.
And sometimes fishing out a boat is a little tough to kind of give that full instruction for somebody. So typically we wade. We're doing about half days now. Half days you'll really learn a lot, and certainly the smallmouth techniques and how to effectively fish them basically this spring and early summer.
Okay, so that's sweet. So like, if I want a guided trip from you, we'll just call on up here to the shop and ask for you, or
yeah, call the shop, call the boys, and yeah, we'll get one on the schedule.
Okay. How soon in advance should we give you?
I would say just a couple weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, I got
Sweet.
a couple trips already planned. I got another guy that's helping me. So, yeah.
Okay.
A couple weeks.
So we might have somebody. All right. And I believe there is a place on our website that you can go and you can sign up.
There is.
Or
yeah,
is it soon to be?
Yeah, there's a guided fly fishing tab that's located in our footer on the main webpage.
Nice. Easy to get to. Is there anything extra that you want to add in? I know this was really brief. This is really quick. Is there anything you want to add in?
I think one of the questions I get a lot is, what specific rods and lines.
True.
And, the list is long, but typically, you're looking for, like I said, a 6'7" weight, 9'9", 9'6", but,
Okay.
There's certain good manufacturers out there that
Yeah.
I think curtail a good smallmouth rod. The first being, I really like a Sage. It certainly allows some power, sensitivity. That X rod is my favorite in a 7 weight.
Absolutely.
But I've really been turned on to some Loomis rods.
True. They're getting hotter.
Schultze north of us kind of helped design a couple of those rods, but one of them is the new Swim Fly. It's a NRX series, and that's a really good fly. Basically, it has power in the butt section. It's pretty sensitive to feel the bumps and the nicks, especially on the short and subtle grabs that smallmouth typically do this season. My favorite that I actually use right now is a one-piece IMX Pro streamer rod. It has a lot of sensitivity and power throughout the rod, being a one-piece.
Yeah.
That's kind of my go-to
That was
right
my
now.
question. Yeah. This is the one piece. It's better than a 4-piece. A lot of people say. Do you agree?
I think they make 4 pieces extremely well nowadays. They eliminate the dead spots with how they can wrap the graphite with the resin, componentry. But certainly there is a little bit, when you cast rods a lot, you can really, I think, find a little bit better sensitivity with a one-piece rod.
And you're going to want extra sensitivity when you're fishing for smallmouth because
I think because you may go from drop shotting crawfish where you're kind of picking up very slow amounts of line and really need to feel the bump the take, to maybe stripping a bait fish and being able to feel the tug when you're ripping bait fish mid column. So like I said. My other couple rods that I really like, I do an Alpha Plus from Winston. I actually do that in a 6-weight. That's a pretty stout rod.
Yep.
So I can actually kind of lower down on that. Line-wise, this is kind of the season where you're kind of using a couple different lines. Where what I find where clients go wrong sometimes is that they typically use a floating line for a lot of things.
Absolutely, yeah. I know I do.
Well, in the springtime, you kind of have to change that up. Intermediate sink tip lines are really good. I use sink tips a lot, whether it's a type 3, 3 to 4 inches per second, or maybe a type 6, 5 to 6 inches per second. It's really kind of based upon the river you're fishing, geography where you're at. But the sink tip with that floating sections, you can kind of pick up the line a lot easier. But you can get the fly down, and that's probably the most crucial thing in the springtime is getting the fly within its zone. And typically the old rule saying is, are the fish looking up yet or not? And so typically they are looking up a little bit, but not like the summertime where they're always looking up.
They're more looking for people.
Yeah, they're looking down, they're looking middle. Yeah, they're kind of surveying, and typically they're going to be moving in spots where it's, there's a lot of bait, whether that's crawfish, like I said, or minnows or something like that. But they're going to move to that sort of structure.
Okay, so is there anything I should look for when I'm out there? Should I look for schools of bait fish? Should I try to flip over rocks, find some crawls? What should I aim for along the bank?
I think there's a lot of different scenarios depending on where you're at. But southwestern Ohio, we have a lot of riprap rocks. Mm-hmm. Rocks are pretty good. I certainly look for a lot of aquatic vegetation along the sides, and then I look for logs. So really, the key aspect is structure. And if you read books and magazines and all that, there's many guys that talk about structure, and that's what you're really ultimately looking for, structure, because they want to basically what they want to do in the springtime is they want to get out of the flood, when it does flood, but they also want to be in that same position during the breeding, because if it floods during the breeding, at least they're protected.
Their nests and eggs.
So you kind of have to think again. If I was, if it was about to flood, where would I want to be? And that's going to be near structure in and around that.
And let's say because right now we get rain, we get snow, the temperature changes. Let's say that water level comes up and it just flushes that river out. Is that smallmouth gone forever, or is he going to come back and venture his way back into that hole?
That's a good question. As an old biologist, I kind of researched a little bit of it, but it kind of depends. If they lose their fry or not, where they're at in the stage.
Okay.
Typically, if it's in a stage where the male is guarding the nest and there's active fry and then there's a big flood, typically they're going to lose it. But it kind of depends on, how fast that river's flowing. I mean, they do it for a reason. They're able to get it done.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think, for your area, I think you can always, call local biologists or something like that, and they could help you.
How would you get a hold of somebody like that? Is there like a Facebook kind of group that you can get into?
For us here in Ohio, I think you call Ohio Department of Natural Resources.
Okay.
Talk to a wildlife. Those guys
because they're there to help you.
Yeah, they're fully.
They're
trained
there to help you. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, is there any predators of the smallmouth in our area that we need to keep on the lookout for, or is there anything that would spook them? Do I
Well, I mean, a lot of great blue herons. That's your number one predator.
Ah, true.
So
huge.
When you're on the river and you see a great blue heron, certainly you're going to be in and around fish.
Okay.
Now,
does that mean don't fish there since this guy's...
No, he's kind of showing you where the fish are.
Okay, so I didn't know if it was like his spot. Like, all right, never mind.
But,
I'll keep moving.
typically, flooding, especially bad silt, where it floods and it gets a lot of silt, that can affect a smallmouth. Certainly, any pollution can affect a smallmouth. Smallmouth, kind of like nice cold, cobblestone streams.
Clear, moving water.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think around here we do a pretty good job in Dayton. We're opening a lot of access, with removing some dams, which is allowing the less silt buildup. I think the smallmouth fishing is getting better and better each year.
I have started the last 2 years, and I mean, it's only getting better.
Yeah.
So that's great. I still like trout fishing. Yeah, okay. Is there anything else that you would like to add, or anything for our listeners at home?
No, I think, we're not, our fly shop and where we're at is not necessarily known for trout fishing. We do have the Mad River, which is, my favorite trout stream.
Absolutely.
But, I think smallmouth in the years to come will be probably our go-to, and that will be where people, because we have so much access around us. And to kind of leave you with understanding this access is, people can go on metroparks.org around us. And what has happened is because of our 1913 flood, A lot of our rivers are protected by metro parks, or actually what we call MCD land, and so it's all public access. So
really, I don't think people know that.
In terms of people coming to town, there's a lot of ways that you can fish and not be on private property.
That's good.
So
I mean, sometimes you have to sneak, but we won't talk about that. All right. Well, that's all I have. If you don't have anything else, then...
No, man, I appreciate this.
This is great. I appreciate all the information. I think our listeners at home do too. Be sure, if you don't follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and I think we're working on a TikTok. So stay tuned. That could be funny. Until next time, thank you.